So is it actually possible for a narcissist to be trauma bonded to you? I mean, you're trauma bonded to them and they could be to you, or could they? Let's find out in this video. Hello and welcome back. I hope that you're all doing really well. So in this video today, we're going to be looking at whether the narcissist actually is trauma bonded to you, or are they? Can a narcissist actually ever really experience a trauma bond? And this is very helpful in understanding their behaviors, why this actually happens, and actually what's going on. But before I get into the video, I just want to say that I do go live on this channel every single week. And if you have a question or there's something that is on your mind, I would say come along, join the lives, because you never know, I could be answering your question. And also, the lives are a vibe. And you know what? The community make it that. So all you have to do is come on over, join the live chat if you wanted to. What have you got to lose? Please see the description box below, or also do check out the community tab because I do post quite a few updates on there. So indeed, can the narcissist ever be trauma bonded to you? I mean, this is a very viable question. It is something that can actually happen, or could it? I don't know, narcissists, you know what, my friends, narcissists can be trauma bonded because many aspects of their psychological makeup, such as their need for validation, their history of trauma, their poor kind of emotional regulation, and also don't forget their fear of abandonment. And they have a tendency also, you know what, they idealize others, which makes them very susceptible to trauma bonding, not just you, but them as well. So let's look at this in more detail. Okay, so narcissists, they have a history of trauma, okay, as well. And narcissists, because of this history of trauma, this contributes to the development of their narcissistic traits. Do you remember I talk about this in the videos? Either you become highly empathic, or you become narcissistic. This is all about protective measures that we use to cope in a traumatic environment. The trauma often involves inconsistent caregiving from their parents or their parent or their caregiver. So this is where the parent or the caregiver, what they do is they alternate between providing affection to the narcissist or to the child, but also them being neglectful or abusive. And the narcissist or anyone, they can't regulate those emotions. And so what happens, this typically causes the development of insecure attachment style. And what that means is where the individual becomes preoccupied with seeking attention and validation from others. So this becomes external seeking for validation. So because of this makes narcissists really susceptible to trauma bonding. Because of their past experiences, the condition makes them basically associate love and care with abusive behavior. And this is quite sad. If we think about it, this is a really sad thing that happens. And I know that many of us would have gone through this or would have been through exactly this kind of experience. But the narcissists have chosen to deflect and seek validation from others to basically fulfill them. The other thing you've got to remember is that narcissists have a need for this attention and validation. And so because of the seeking validation from others, they, do you know what, they have is what psychologists have called a fragile high self-esteem. So it's where you deflect. Okay, so you put this barrier in, and what you do is you make yourself believe that you are absolutely wonderful, this confidence, you have this amazing self-worth and that you are such a wonderful person. This belief is really inborn, and the narcissist, my friends, the narcissists really, really believe this. So this means that their feelings basically of self-worth are unstable and certain based on unrealistic views of themselves. And what happens is they're entirely dependent on external validation and self-deception. So it's basically they lie to themselves thinking that these people think this about them. So this need that the narcissist has for validation makes them also really susceptible to trauma bonding, because they basically become emotionally attached to those who provide intermittent reinforcement. Now let's talk about this. So intermittent reinforcement is a common tactic that abusers use. And this means alternating between providing support, love and care and validation versus not giving it at all and being really abusive in the process. And so you see, this tactic creates a really powerful bond, because the narcissist, what happens is they become conditioned to associate attention and validation with abusive behavior, as do you. As those of you who are experiencing trauma bonding, this is exactly what happens. It's the same thing. And over time, basically this causes a development of a trauma bond where the narcissist becomes emotionally dependent on their partner despite the abusive behavior that they basically give the partner. And so the both of you, because can you see this is like mirroring your experiences as well. Can you see how, apart from the validation bit, can you see how wanting this validation, tell me, I need you to tell me all the time, and this becomes traumatic, and this is why they become bonded, because of this abusive behavior of theirs, even though they initiate it. You've also got to understand that narcissists have poor emotional regulation skills, okay? And what that means is it refers to the ability to be able to manage and respond to an emotional experience in a socially acceptable and appropriate way. So their way of understanding the world and everyone around them is skewed. And so you see narcissists often struggle with emotional regulation. They can't self-soothe, so they become overwhelmed by feelings of anger, of jealousy, of sadness. And what they do is they kind of end up showing these extreme emotional reactions. And you're kind of like thinking, oh, hold on a minute, what is this? And so this inability to be able to manage these emotions effectively, basically they can make you more dependent on your partner for emotional support and stability. And can you see that's exactly what the narcissist wants from you, even though this support is coupled with abuse? So can you see this can work both ways for you, but also the narcissist? So what I mean, for example, you've got an abusive partner. They may provide comfort after an episode of abuse, leading to the narcissist or to you to associate this with comfort with the abusive behavior. And what happens is this also reinforces the trauma bond, because you become reliant on another person to be able to provide you that support that they have once done, and you kind of expect it all the time. So what happens is the narcissist's emotional instability actually causes them to perceive the relationship as more positive than it actually is. And they may seem basically to see the highs and the lows of this relationship as a sign of love, rather than actually maladaptive and abusive. And so you see, because of this distorted perception, it can make it harder for them to recognize abusive relationships or the abusive situation that you are in. And it causes them to recognize the abusive nature of the relationship. And basically it makes you strengthen this trauma bond that you have with the narcissist, but the narcissist also to you. And also, you've got to understand that their core trigger, my friends, their core trigger, okay, is a fear of abandonment. Yes, my friends, this is massive for them. Despite their outward appearance and their confidence of self-absurdness, the narcissists have a deep-seated fear of abandonment. And again, this is all from childhood. This is where it all stems from, is from childhood. And this fear is from neglect or abandonment, and is often the result of an insecure attachment style. The narcissist's fear of abandonment make them susceptible again to this trauma bonding in several ways. So first of all, The narcissist will tolerate abusive behavior because they perceive it as a lesser evil compared to being abandoned. So what they will do is they will mold their needs so that it fits the actual situation. Can you see how they do this all the time? They try to mold and bend who they are, what's going on for them, in order to be able to fit in. So this is all about not being abandoned and not being ignored. So they tolerate them so they tolerate this behavior. And what happens is this leads them to rationalize and minimize abusive behavior, which again reinforces this trauma bond. Secondly, their fear of abandonment causes them to become overly dependent on their partner for validation and support. It's this constant, what about this? What do you think of this? What about this? What about that? It becomes really draining emotionally and energetically. Again, this strengthens the trauma bond and makes it harder for them to be able to leave. Do you remember what I've always said to you? They can't connect to you in a healthy way, but they also can't disconnect from you in a healthy way. So this is part of it. And finally, the fear of abandonment causes them to perceive any type of attention as positive, even if it is negative, even if it is positive. Why? Well, because to the narcissist, it indicates that their partner is still invested in this relationship, and anything causes them to feel like they're getting their validation, which again, my friends, strengthens this trauma bond. And added to the fact that the narcissist also have a tendency to idealize others. Yeah, they do. They exhibit a pattern of idealizing others at the beginning of the relationship. So this is where they're love bombing you. This is where they're putting you on a pedestal. Okay, and what happens is the narcissist views you as perfect because you're that person that gives them the attention and validation that they crave so much. And this idealization makes them, again, very susceptible to trauma bonding. Why? Well, the other person is put on this pedestal and they're expecting this. But you know what? At some point, you're inevitably predisposed to fail, to live up to these unrealistic expectations. And it can create feelings of betrayal and disappointment, which is why then what happens is the narcissist becomes bored. They have this perceived way that maybe you have disappointed them in some way, which is why they go and seek validation and attention from others, which is usually at the point why they actually cheat. So my friends, to summarize, an abusive partner can exploit these feelings of betrayal and disappointment and provide intermittent reinforcement. The narcissist may alternate between providing you with affection and validation and then subjecting you to the abuse. See, what they are doing is everything that they have learned from childhood. They're basically repeating these behaviors and behaving in this way because that's what they've always done and this is what they know. So even though the narcissist does it to you, it happens to them too. And I'm not saying that you guys are abusive, but it's what the narcissist perceives. So when the narcissist is feeling betrayed or disappointed, they will give a small boost of affection for this validation. And because of this inconsistency, it can lead the narcissist to become more emotionally attached to their partner as they become conditioned to associate affection and validation with abusive behavior. And this works vice versa. So guys, I hope this gives you some more clarity and understanding in actually what is going on in this interaction. Yeah, the narcissist does become trauma bonded because of their own misunderstanding and abusive relationships in childhood. But this can also work both ways for you, but also the narcissist. So if you are someone that is going through this, please know that I do offer one-to-one consultations. And if you're interested in joining, please see the description box below. I've also got a mentorship and journal club, which I post in there every single Monday. And if you're interested in joining, again, please see the link in the description box. I've also got a Discord server, which is a community of like-minded individuals. If you are someone that would like to connect with this community, or you've been through something similar and you would like to talk about it or connect, please see the link in the description box. It's absolutely free for you to join. Guys, thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.